Moving forward, we have interesting. This game went from not interesting to very interesting in a week. We have Texas State on the road at UTSA. Going to talk to Bobcats on this episode here, something I thought we'd never get a chance to, and I'm so excited for it. UTSA, 12.5-point home favorite with an over-under of 65.5. Game kicks off at 3:30 p.m. on ESPN+. So you're going to have the streaming service to watch this game. It actually opened with the Birds at 10-point favorites, and then that climbed pretty quickly. Not through any key figures or anything, but it is worth noting. Have to stay off the top. This is a classic letdown spot for Texas State. Coming off that high on the road, going back on the road to play at the Alamo Dome, only 45 minutes down the road from San Marcos that they're playing in San Antonio. It was their first win versus a Power 5 team in school history. Now, they haven't been in the FBS that long, since 2012, but still, big mark there. There was 18 explosive plays combined in week 1, plus 18 havoc plays. Texas State and Baylor was exceedingly watchable, even outside of the upset there. But I was actually really impressed with Texas State's defense. Even though they gave up a lot of explosive plays, I mentioned earlier in our Utah-Baylor preview that Texas State's defensive line just dominated up front. Ben Bell, he had a 37.5% win rate on his pass rush snaps, and an 18.8% PRP, which is the total pressures, hits, and sacks. So he was in the backfield frequently and often, making a fool of the Baylor offensive line. Texas State's offense, 14.3 yards, ADOT, average depth of target for TJ Finley, and 22.5 seconds per play. That's the 11th fastest pace in the country from last week. UTSA, offense didn't look great. Frank Harris didn't look great. They only had a 37% success rate against Houston, as well as a minus 0.2 EPA per drop back. And when you're talking about Frank Harris, who's a stud, and with the decent receiving core, I know they're out JT Clark, but yikes, not great. Not a good performance that they turned in there. They threw 3 interceptions, forced no turnovers themselves, or 4 for 13 on third down. They had 7 explosive plays, though, which is good. And they also finished with a 53% post-game win expectancy. But all those turnovers just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, agree with a lot of that, Brett. I have UTSA minus 13.5 in this one. It's an 83% win expectancy. The Roadrunners, you mentioned, fell 14-17 in a tough, evenly played, you said 53% post-game win expectancy. That means it's evenly played game at Houston last week, which is exactly what the model expected, actually. The 2 unit rankings moves were perfectly offset. The defense improving from 78 to 60, the offense falling from 37 to 61. You mentioned the offensive struggles. My numbers agree with that. Means UTSA held steady at number 54 overall. Texas State, on the other hand, they scored the upset of the season to date. We've talked about it. 42-31 win at Baylor in week 1. Catapulted the Bobcats to number 4 in my most deserving rankings early on here. They're number 1 on my 2023 overachievers list, subject to change, but that's where they are currently. Only Oklahoma and Colorado experienced a larger rating boost than Texas State, who is up 6.3 points this week and 24 spots from number 124 to number 100. You said you were impressed with the defense. I was too, but my model actually expected it. The defense held steady. They're still around number 70. Not a whole lot changed for me. The difference was the offense skyrocketed. I had them second to last. There was a lot of turnover. We talked about this team in the preseason. There was a lot of roster turnover. Didn't know what to expect. I had them second to last. They're now up to number 104. So again, still the weaker side of the ball, but that's great improvement for just 1 week. And if they can continue that, watch out. They could end up being a player in the Sun Belt, as they have the number 3 defense in their own division. You pull an upset or two. They've already done one. You pull an upset or two in conference, and you could be right there. The model was very impressed. Now I'm curious if that performance can be replicated against one of the better teams in the American. You said it's a classic letdown spot. I don't know how they're going to be feeling. They're going to be feeling good. Are they going to be able to get refocused? Don't know. Bottom line, I have UTSA minus 13.5 at home. It equates to an 83% win expectancy for the Roadrunners.
Yeah, I would probably look to play over Texas State's team total. Those numbers are not yet out. Those should be out sooner rather than later. But it's because I really do believe in this offense. I don't think what we saw against Baylor was a fluke at all. Baylor's defense not great, but that's not why they scored a bunch of points. I think if you get anything under 28, that's playable in my mind. Taking Texas State's team totals probably, honestly, over the whole year. I'll also take a peek at rushing totals for Frank Harris, since they generated a lot of explosive plays, and Texas State has a propensity to give those up. I don't victory lap often, but I am going to take an early one. If you go back to my Sun Belt preview, my long shot to back was the Texas State Bobcats.
And I don't think I agreed with you on that one, so
no.
Kudos.
Nope, many people didn't. It is early, though, so I'm not going to take the full victory lap yet. We'll revisit in a couple of months.